Hello and welcome back to The Artist's Way with me, Veronica, aka Vespertilio. I am an Italian comic book author, tarot and oracle deck creator, and your spooky art teacher.
It's me again, yours truly.
If you don't know what this is about, I highly recommend you check this video first. This is episode 0 and from there you'll be able to access the whole playlist about this series. We are now at episode 11. Thank you so much for your patience. This episode is coming up pretty late. I think my mom is calling. I've just been invited to a play that's going to take place in my town's monumental graveyard. If that does not scream me, I don't know what could. With that said, as I was saying, this episode was due at least a couple of weeks ago. I've been very busy with work and then I've been sick. There's been speculations that I might have had COVID, but by the time me and my doctor talked, she basically told me even if it was COVID, my prescription is the same and you need to rest as much as you can, basically. But I want to be very clear on this, talking about this book and how this is structured. It doesn't matter if you're late to the party as long as you made it to the party. The second time I went through The Artist's Way, I stopped at week 8. I could have just started again from week 9, but I felt the need to go back to week 1. So that is up to you. This time I denied myself The Artist's Way for a couple of weeks, but I don't feel like I have failed the path. I feel like I can get back on track. So don't worry if you're late to the party, as long as you made it to the party. Last episode, I started with the weekly check-in in which I incorporated my weekly reflections. For this week, I'm going to start from the weekly check-in as well, but my weekly reflections are actually already available in this video right here. Tired artists and restless artists and how those two things go hand in hand, in my opinion. This video was born from my reflections on week 11. And I decided then to post my reflections as a separate video because I thought the topic was pretty relevant. If you're interested in this week's reflections, you can check them out at this video right here if you didn't watch it already, of course. But before diving into this week's check-in, there's one more thing I want to add. Keep being a dreamer. Keep hoping for a better future, a better world. As much as I can, I'm pretty active on reposting and resharing in my stories about stuff that I care about. And there's a lot going on in the world right now. And lately I've been feeling pointless. My life has been feeling pointless. I've been thinking things like, what's the point in finishing my comic book? What's the point in working on my YouTube channel? What's the point in making art for the sake of making art? And it is not a matter of failure because I truly can look at I am at a point in my life at 31 years old where I can look in the mirror and be like, you're worthy, you're capable, you have so much potential, you're very skilled in your craft, you're beautiful, like all of this beautiful stuff. At the same time, I can tell all of those things to myself and then think, but what's the point in all of that with the current situation in the world? The world is messy right now. And so literally this morning, I talked about this to my best friend and I was like, I feel pointless. I feel like everything is pointless. And this very morning, you know what? This might be this week's check-in synchronicity, okay? This very morning, I spoke aloud those things in little video messages to my best friend. And literally like an hour later, I stumbled upon an Instagram post, a quote from The Never-Ending Story. And I'm going to read it to you because I think nowadays it is really important to think about this. But why is Fantasia dying then? Because people have begun to lose their hopes and forget their dreams, so the nothing grows stronger. But why? Because people who have no hopes are easy to control, and whoever has control has the power. If you care about what's going on in the world, of course, talk about it, spread information, keep yourself informed, keep yourself aware. But at the same time, please, it has been so hard for me. It is so hard. But we also have a responsibility to keep hope alive and to keep dreaming. We have the responsibility to keep hoping for a better world and a better situation. This will sound so superficial, but we need to behave in a way that will manifest that kind of world. Do not turn the head the other way. That's not the solution. You need to be aware, you need to be informed. And by being aware and informed, you understand how important is the responsibility of keep dreaming and keep hoping. I wanted to talk about this. Moving on the rest of this week's check-in, we already talked about synchronicity. This morning's synchronicity was like striking to me because I've been avoiding filming this video because I felt pointless. And as soon as I spoke aloud about what was going on in my head, this quote crosses my feed and I'm brought back to myself. So that was a pretty big synchronicity. For the rest, how many days this week did you do your morning pages? How was the experience for you? Have you recommended morning pages to anyone else? Why? So I've been recommending morning pages to everyone like since week 1 for the reason of me feeling pointless and powerless in the current situation. I've also avoided my morning pages. I just felt they were pointless. What's the point in bettering myself, in feeling my well, if the world is going to ashes, if the world is burning right now? It's been 2 days where I actually came back to my morning pages, and yesterday in particular, they were so angry. I was so angry about everything. While this morning, I decided to ask myself in my morning pages if all of the bad things happening in the world right now would resolve themselves by tomorrow. If tomorrow we woke up to a world in peace, what would you do? What would be your dreams? What would be your hopes? What would be your desires? And I wrote a list of things, and most of them are dreams that I've had for a very long time, but that I have literally forgotten because of everything going on in the world. Did you do your artist date this week? Have you considered scheduling an entire artist day? What did you do? How did it feel? So I've been having small artist dates with myself where I would make art and then experiment a little. I've posted a couple of short videos about the things I've produced during those artist dates, but I had a proper artist date yesterday. After talking to my best friend, she really has been my accountability partner lately. So shout out to her. Basically, I realized I really wanted to go back to reading once again, and I wanted to read Frankenstein. And the first time I read Frankenstein, it was 13 years ago because it was when I was 18. And so I went out and got myself a copy. I have a very fancy, cool hardcover copy, but I wanted a paperback cover because I prefer bendy books when I have to read because I really get myself into the reading, and so I need to, I don't know, feel the book. I don't know if that makes sense. There are a lot of rare books, old editions that are worth go thrifting for, but I think it's also worth supporting local businesses, especially bookstores. So I went there, I get my copy of Frankenstein, and this is the copy I get. The book itself is kind of an anti-stress object to me, so I need to feel a connection with the object. That connection as an artist also comes from the aesthetic. And I was looking at this cover and I was like, it's not vibing with me. I decided to DIY the cover of the book, and I ended up with this this illustration right here. That F you see in the corner was a test for the title basically, but yeah, I ended up with this illustration. And then of course I printed it with my thermal label printer, and so this is now my copy of Frankenstein. I really love how it turned out. The vibe is the right one. It feels like a book I would buy. I feel like if I saw this in a bookstore, I would have bought this edition. So I'm very proud of myself for this. No hate for the original artist. Of course, it is just that I wanted to personalize my copy of this story, which I already know I love because I loved it back then. If by any chance you like this rendition, I'll leave a link down below where you can download the file for this book cover. So you either have it for free, or if you, and only if you want to support my work, you'll also be able to purchase it. So yeah, you'll find it at the link below in the description. Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. I think I talked about this enough. So yeah, the current worldwide situation, I realized that has a huge impact on me, on my creativity, on my creative expression, but also on the quality of my life. With that said, we're now going to move to this week's highlights. So this week is called Recovering a Sense of Autonomy. This week we focus on our artistic autonomy. We examine the ongoing ways in which we must nurture and accept ourselves as artists. We explore the behaviors that can strengthen our spiritual base and, therefore, our creative power. We take a special look at the ways in which success must be handled in order that we do not sabotage our freedom. Acceptance. I am an artist. As an artist, I may need a different mix of stability and flow from other people. I may find that a 9-to-5 job steadies me and leaves me freer to create. Or I may find that a 9-to-5 drains me of energy and leaves me unable to create. I must experiment with what works for me. An artist's cash flow is typically erratic. No law says we must be broke all the time, but the odds are good we may be broke some of the time. Good work will sometimes not sell. People will buy but not pay promptly. The market may be rotten even when the work is great. I cannot control these factors. Being true to the inner artist often results in work that sells, but not always. I have to free myself from determining my value and the value of my work by my work's market value. I must learn that as an artist, my credibility lies with me, God, and my work. In other words, if I have a poem to write, I need to write the poem, whether it will sell or not. I need to create what wants to be created. Children, as we all know, do not deal well with later, not now. Since my artist is a child, the natural child within, I must make some concessions to its sense of timing. Letting the artist have quality time, knowing that if I let it do what it wants to, it will cooperate with me in doing what I need to do. Sometimes I will write badly, draw badly, paint badly, perform badly. I have a right to do that, to get to the other side. Creativity is its own reward. As an artist, I must be very careful to surround myself with people who nurture my artist. I may be a good cook, a rotten housekeeper, and a strong artist. I am messy, disorganized except as pertains to writing, a demon for creative detail, and not real interested in details like polished shoes and floors. To a large degree, my life is my art, and when it gets dull, so does my work. As an artist, I may frizz my hair or wear weird clothes. I may spend too much money on perfume in a pretty blue bottle, even though the perfume stinks because the bottle lets me write about Paris in the 30s. As an artist, I write whether I think it's any good or not. I shoot movies other people may hate. I sketch bad sketches to say I was in this room, I was happy. It was May and I was meeting somebody I wanted to meet. As an artist, my self-respect comes from doing the work. One performance at a time, one gig at a time, one painting at a time. As an artist, I do not need to be rich, but I do need to be richly supported. I cannot allow my emotional and intellectual life to stagnate or the work will show it. My life will show it. My temperament will show it. If I don't create, I get crabby. The more I nurture my artist child, the more adult I am able to appear. There is a connection between self-nurturing and self-respect. If I allow myself to be bullied and cowed by other people's urges for me to be more normal or more nice, I sell myself out. They may like me better, feel more comfortable with my more conventional appearance or behavior, but I will hate myself. Hating myself, I may lash out at myself and others. Creativity is oxygen for our souls. Cutting off our creativity makes us savage. When well-meaning parents and friends push marriage or 9 to 5 or anything on us that doesn't evolve in a way that allows for our art to continue, we will react as if we are fighting for our lives. We are. To be an artist is to recognize the particular, to appreciate the peculiar, to allow a sense of play in our relationship to accepted standards, to ask the question, why? To be an artist is to risk admitting that much of what is money, property, and prestige strikes you as just a little silly. To be an artist is to acknowledge the astonishing. It is to allow the wrong piece in a room if we like it. It is to hang on to a weird coat that makes us happy. It is to not keep trying to be something that we are not. If you are happier writing than not writing, painting than not painting, singing than not singing, acting than not acting, directing than not directing, for God's sake, and I mean that literally, let yourself do it. To kill your dreams because they are irresponsible is to be irresponsible to yourself. The Creator made us creative. Our creativity is our gift from God. Our use of it is our gift to God. Success. Creativity is a spiritual practice. Yes, we are successful. Yes, we have made it. But, in other words, just when we get there disappears. Dissatisfied with our accomplishments, we are once again confronted with our creative self and its hungers. The questions we have just laid to rest now rear their hands again. What are we going to do now? We are asked to expand in order that we not contract. Can I rest? We wonder. In a word, the answer is no. As artists, we are spiritual sharks. The ruthless truth is that if we don't keep moving, we sink to the bottom and die. The choice is very simple. We can insist on resting on our laurels, or we can begin anew. The stringent requirement of a sustained creative life is the humility to start again, to begin anew. It is this willingness to once more be a beginner that distinguishes a creative career. As artists, we are travelers. We insist on a straight and narrow when the artist's way is a spiral path. An artist cannot replicate a prior success indefinitely. Those who attempt to work too long with formula, even their own formula, eventually leach themselves of their creative truths. As artists, we are asked to repeat ourselves and expand on the market we have built. Sometimes this is possible for us, other times it's not. As a successful artist, the trick is not to mortgage the future too heavily. This is not to say that editors should stop planning seasons or that studios should scuttle their business bottom line. It is to say that the many creatives laboring in fiscal settings should remember to commit themselves not only to projects that smack of the sure thing, but also to those riskier projects that call to their creative souls. You don't need to overturn a successful career in order to find creative fulfillment. It is necessary to overturn each day's schedule slightly, to allow for those small adjustments in daily trajectory that over the long haul alter the course of the satisfactions of our careers. This means writing your morning pages, taking your artist date. Artists can do responsibly meet the demands of their business partnerships. What is more difficult and more critical is for us as artists to continue to meet the inner demand of our own artistic growth. In short, as success comes to us, we must be vigilant. Any success postulated on a permanent artistic plateau dooms us and it to failure. The Zen of sports. Most blocked creatives are cerebral beings. We think of the things we want to do but can't. We need to move out of the head and into a body of work. To do this, we must first of all move into the body. Creativity requires action, and part of that action must be physical. This is where walking comes in. What we are after here is a moving meditation. This means one where the act of motion puts us into the new and helps us to stop spinning. 20 minutes a day is sufficient. The object is to stretch your mind more than your body, so there doesn't need to be an emphasis on fitness, although eventual fitness is a likely result. The goal is to connect to a world outside of us, to lose the obsessive self-focus of self-exploration and simply explore. Not everyone can afford to ride a horse or even a 10-speed bicycle. Many of us must rely on our feet for transportation and for recreation. As an artist, walking offers the added benefit of sensory saturation. Things do not whiz by. We really see them. In a sense, insight follows from sight. We feel the well and later tap it more easily. Exercise turns out to be thought-provoking. As we said before, we learn by going where we have to go. Exercise is often the going that moves us from stagnation to inspiration, from problem to solution, from self-pity to self-respect. We do learn by going. We learn we are stronger than we thought. We learn to look at things with a new perspective. We learn to solve our problems by tapping our own inner resources and listening for inspiration, not only from others, but from ourselves. Seemingly, without effort, our answers come while we swim or stride or ride or run. By definition, this is one of the fruits of exercise. Exercise, the act of bringing into play or realizing in action. This last paragraph is basically this week's exercise. Building your artist's altar. Morning pages are meditation, a practice that brings you to your creativity and your creator God. In order to stay easily and happily creative, we need to stay spiritually centered. This is easier to do if we allow ourselves centering rituals. It is important that we devise these ourselves from the elements that feel holy and happy to us. Many Black creatives grew up in punitively religious homes. For us to stay happily and easily creative, we need to heal from this, becoming spiritually centered through creative rituals of our own. A spiritual room or even a spiritual corner is an excellent way to do this. This heaven can be a corner of a room, a nook under the stairs, even a window ledge. It is a reminder and an acknowledgement of the fact that our Creator unfolds our creativity. Fill it with things that make you happy. Remember that your artist is fed by images. We need to unlearn our old notion that spirituality and sensuality don't mix. An artist's altar should be a sensory experience. Pretty leaves, rocks, candles, sea treasures, all these remind us of our Creator. Small rituals, self-devised, are good for the soul. Burning incense while reading affirmations or writing them, lighting a candle, dancing to drum music, holding a smooth rock and listening to Gregorian chant. All of these tactile, physical techniques reinforce spiritual growth. Remember, the artist's child speaks the language of the soul: music, dance, scent, shells. Your artist's altar to the Creator should be fun to look at, even silly. And there we are to this week's tasks. Number 1, record your voice reading the basic principles. Choose a favorite essay from this book and tape that as well. Use the recording for meditation. So I didn't do this one, but I already have recorded my basic principles and I'll leave them linked down below. There's a video on this channel about them. Number 2, write out in longhand your artist's prayer from week 4. Place it in your wallet. Already did this. I have it in my everything journal that I basically always bring with me. I also felt the need to read my artist's prayers aloud, genuinely praying with my artist's prayers. I also leave my artist prayer below. I have written a second artist prayer. I think that you can find it in the video about week 4, but let me know if you would like to have it in a separate video. I might upload that as well. Number 3, buy yourself a special creativity notebook. Number pages 1 through 7. Give 1 page each to the following categories: health, possessions, leisure, relationships, creativity, career, and spirituality. With no thought as to practicality, list 10 wishes in each area. Alright, it's a lot. Let yourself dream a little here. I did this one exercise and I already had basically this little journal I keep right here, so I use that for this exercise. Number 4, working with the honest changes section in week 4. Inventory for yourself the ways you have changed since beginning your recovery. 5, list 5 ways you will change as you continue. 6, list 5 ways you plan to nurture yourself in the next 6 months. Courses you will take, supplies you will allow yourself, artist dates, and vacations just for you. Number 7, take out a piece of paper and plan 1 week's nurturing for yourself. This means 1 concrete loving action every single day for 1 week. Please binge. 8, write and mail an encouraging letter to your inner artist. This sounds silly and feels very, very good to receive. Remember that your artist is a child and loves praise and encouragement and festive plans. 9, once more, re-examine your God concept. Does your belief system limit or support your creative expansion? Are you open-minded about altering your concept of God? 10, list 10 examples of personal synchronicity that support the possibility of a nurturing creative force. I didn't do those. So I just genuinely did 1 task this week, and then task number 1 and number 2 were like already done, so I didn't really dive into those. And that brings us to the end of this week. If you stayed till this point, thank you very much. I will see you very soon with more art videos. In the meantime, let's make art and keep dreaming. Bye.